What's up, you guys, and welcome to a new series I am calling Small Girl, Small Kitchen, because I am small and this is literally my kitchen. I live in a 400 square foot studio apartment in Brooklyn, New York with my 6'4" boyfriend, and this is where we cook everything. I thought today I would start the series off by making an iced matcha latte, which is my favorite thing ever. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you know that I'm absolutely obsessed with matcha. I switched from coffee to matcha about 2 years ago and have not had coffee since, and it's changed my life. So I'm gonna show you guys how I make an iced matcha latte the Smalletics way, so you guys can do it too. So I guess I'll start by saying that I switched to matcha because when I was drinking coffee, I was having stomach issues and anxiety, and I didn't really know what was causing it. I would have coffee like 2 cups a day, sometimes just 1, and I would have stomach aches later in the afternoon. So one day I was just like, I'm just gonna switch to a tea. And I discovered matcha, and I loved the way it tasted. Yes, it was an adjustment because let me tell you, I was obsessed with coffee before. Like, coffee was my favorite ritual. I loved the taste. I loved the smell of it. It was very hard for me to give up. But once I switched to matcha, I felt immediately better, and I would never go back having had such a positive experience that I have with matcha. So for those of you who don't know what matcha is, it is a Japanese tea. It was traditionally brewed by Japanese samurai who would drink it before a battle because it would allow them to get this sort of zen calmness that caffeine from coffee doesn't really give you. And that's because of a chemical that's in matcha that kind of drip feeds the caffeine to you instead of coffee, which gives you like a full blast jittery hit the minute you drink it. And that's something I just liked the sound of. And I also am a former professional fencer or amateur fencer, whichever you want to say. In America, we don't really have professional fencing. But I just felt like it kind of fit my whole, I just liked the sound of it. I thought it was cool. So I decided to give it a try. So since then, I've been drinking it for 2 years. I've tried tons of different brands. I have not traveled to Japan, so I can't speak to what a authentic Japanese matcha would taste like from there. But I have tried many Japanese matchas that are imported, and I'm gonna talk about some of my favorite brands and where you can start and kind of like what to look for in a matcha when you're first shopping for one. So because matcha has recently just become so popular, like literally everyone and their mom's drinking matcha, it's kind of hard to tell what makes a good matcha, like which brand is real, which one is kind of garbage. So here are my best tips for that. So first of all, the location is probably the top thing that you want to look for. A matcha from China is not going to be the real deal. You want to look for a matcha that's from Japan, and it will say where it's from on the packaging or in the details. And this is because matcha is not originally from China or any other country. It's from Japan. It will be most likely much better quality if it's from Japan. That being said, the higher quality matcha that you get, the more expensive, and the lower quality, the less expensive. So it's also kind of what you'll be using it for. If you're using it for a cooking recipe, you might be able to get away with like sort of a culinary grade. If you're drinking it and you want to have a really special moment with your tea, I would get the ceremonial grade and make sure it's from Japan. So in terms of color, you want the matcha to be a deep green, like a deep solid green. If it has some brown in it, like the one I'm going to show you today is not the highest quality, but if it has brown in it, that means it's been a little bit oxidized and it's not as fresh. In terms of packaging, you'll often see matcha is packaged in a tin. This is ideal because matcha should be stored in a cool and airtight place, and a tin is pretty good for that. However, you will see more packages like so that are just plastic bags. This is usually a sign of not as high quality in a matcha. However, it can be stored in either, but if you're looking for a really high quality matcha, it's most likely going to come in a tin. The other thing is, if you see a JAS on the packaging, that's Japan's agricultural sign, just kind of like the USDA has one. So that's another good thing to look for in case you're, trying to find the most high quality matcha you can. So that's just to get you started on what some good things to look out for. Today I'm going to be making an iced matcha latte with this brand called Sun Food. This is more of an everyday, I drink matcha usually once or twice a day. I'm not always trying to buy the most expensive kind. This has a little bit more of a bitter, earthy taste, whereas the matcha that it comes from a higher quality source is a little bit more savory and sweet, although there's always still like a touch of bitterness. It's so that's kind of the main difference, but I don't mind it. I love matcha so much. Sometimes I just get the cheaper version if I know I am gonna be drinking a lot of it. So I'm making it today with Sun Food. So if you're more economical, you could try this. If you wanna go have something a little bit more elevated, I've linked all the brands that I recommend. Less expensive, more economical, but still good quality out of the lower priced options in my Amazon store, the Smalletics Amazon store below. So just check out the link in the description and you'll be able to go check out the brands there. Okay, so all you need to get started is a kettle to heat some water up for the matcha. You need some almond milk or milk of your choice. I have an unsweetened vanilla here. Your matcha. You need a jar for the matcha. I have a sustainable steel straw that I'm going to be using. A whisk, or this is an electronic whisk, whichever works, and a teaspoon measuring teaspoon. Okay, so I already heated up some water, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get the tea measured out. So I'm just taking 1 little teaspoon of matcha. That's usually what I use. Of course, you can do more or less depending on how caffeinated you want it to be. And I believe matcha is about the same caffeine as coffee, which is another reason why I like it, because it's just a good swap out. I'm gonna take my kettle. I love this kettle, by the way. You can also check it out on my Amazon store. So you just pour in enough to basically get the matcha dissolved. You don't want the whole thing to be like filled up with hot water, because then you won't be able to cool it down. And I should also note that this is not the way that traditional matcha is brewed. Traditional matcha is brewed very, very, very specifically. It has to be, I believe, 80 degrees exactly, not boiling water. So this water would be a little too hot. I would actually want to cool it if I were to do this like a really traditional way, but I'm not doing that today. Just doing it the way I do it every day. It still tastes great. And I would also use a very special bowl and a bamboo whisk to whisk it instead of this electronic stir and this glass jar. But we're doing it the Brooklyn way today, so that's what we got. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my electric stir, and you can just see in the close-up that it's just mixing the matcha. And I like to make sure I just rotate the jar to make sure that there is no matcha clinging to the sides. And ideally, like a really good matcha is you whisk it for about a minute and you get a nice frothy top, like a nice latte-esque thing. You can already see the bubbles are starting up. That's also another good sign of a good cup of matcha, is just that it froths. You can just use a whisk, just a regular whisk, a metal whisk, if you don't have an electric one. Or sometimes if I'm traveling, I really don't have anything, just use a fork and I go back and forth and I just really, really whisk it. And I travel with matcha so that I don't have to rely on trying to find it, because it's really readily available in places like LA and New York and Japan, but not so much in other places. So, you know, you do what you gotta do. All right, so now we have the matcha. It is in, it's ready to go. I'm gonna fill this glass with ice. I'll be back. Okay, so my matcha is now filled to the, brim with some ice. I'm gonna shake up my unsweetened vanilla almond milk, and I'm going to add the almond milk. All right, I love this part because it just looks so pretty. So you can see it's a really nice green color, and actually it's not quite the right color for matcha like I was saying before. It's actually a little bit, it has some shades of brown in it, which means it's just been a little oxidized. But I put my straw in, I mix it up, and then you give it a try. So good, literally delicious. Here are some other things also you can do if you want to make your matcha a little bit sweeter or a little bit fattier. You can add some MCT oil. That's gonna give it like a nice creamy texture. I love doing that, especially if I'm tracking macros and I'm low on fats for the day. I will add in a little bit of MCT oil and just make it really creamy and delicious. And if I want it to be sweeter, instead of using unsweetened vanilla, I'll just use a sweetened vanilla almond milk. And it depends on the brand you use, but you can get some that aren't heavily sweetened so that you're not getting too much of a sugar hit, but it's just the right amount. But I find that the unsweetened is good. I've gotten used to it over the years and I don't really crave sugar in my tea anymore. That's it, you guys. Cheers. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope that you enjoy trying matcha. If you do give it a try, let me know in the comments what you think about it. And like I said, I've linked everything in my Amazon store below. So if you want to know any of the brands for anything I used today, or like this marble plate that I have, like just check it out below. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great day and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.